I woke up this morning and had a moment that I have to tell you, I'm so grateful for because I did not know this. And I just learned this today. And so I thought I'd share it with you because it is so important to me that I have finally found something that actually makes sense in relationship to being in a toxic relationship in my lifetime. I grew up in a toxic environment. And so there was trauma and there was experiences that I had that have been very, very, very difficult to get over. I've been carrying a lot of things, moving through a lot of different spaces in my life, trying to sort out what's mine, what's theirs, what's whomever's. And it's just been a really interesting process and a long, long one. I'm almost 49 this year, and I literally was today old. I woke up this morning and I hadn't asked for anything. Like it wasn't like I was looking for something. And I'm always looking for something. I'm always trying to figure out what's going on with me or what's happening in my life and why things are doing what they're doing. And so this was just a really cool moment, and I did nothing to start it. And so I was just sitting kind of in reflection today, and then this happened. So, and let me tell you. I want to start saying we all have experiences in our life that where you feel a level of incongruence. You know there's something that's not quite right. You maybe think to yourself, I am not living in that experience anymore. I'm not back there. How come I am still feeling like I'm back there? I don't live in that house. I don't have those friends anymore or whatever this toxic relationship was. Maybe it was a previous marriage. But maybe you're thinking to yourself, I don't that's not my life right now. And yet there's this weird thing that we can't get over, and I don't know why. I found something today, and I only found it just kind of dropped into my heart and my head, and I went, "Oh, I never knew this." So, here's the piece. I realized that at 6 years old, I had to become the person that I needed to make it through these life experiences that I was having. Now, I don't know about you, but you might have been 6, you might have been however old, it depends on your situation. But for me, it was age of 6. I wanna say sometimes it was 10, but my body says, "No, you were 6," is when I kinda learned how to know if I was going to be in trouble or not, or whether life was going to be different than it was 3 seconds ago. Like I had to learn. And here's the beautiful piece: I no longer have to be that anymore. I can actually take this version of myself that was forged in experience, in many ways, I would say, like, painful memories. I had to become something different in order to survive when I was 6. This next pieces could be trigger warning. I do talk about, um, toxic family, um, and I'll keep it light for everyone because I will go deeper into this. I know I have to, but I'm just giving the overview right now. So I had to become versions of myself. So I would actually be like, imagine me um, just cloning myself and putting her over here. And then another one over here. And saying to this person, okay, well, we're teenager now, so this is who you are. And this is a child. And now I'm becoming these different versions because different life experiences are requiring me to be a different person for that time. The older I was, the worse it got. The younger I was, the better it was, which was interesting because you don't get younger. Um, so I realized that this 6-year-old version that started at 6, that I had to keep reinventing different versions as I had different life experiences with this particular person in my family of origin. I had to dig deep. I had to find my way through and out. But these versions are not the person I need right now. Um, that version that I needed to survive isn't the version that I need today. I can actually set that version aside. I can set them aside, even though they're incredible, even though they're amazing, even though they walk through the wars with me. They got me through the intense years, the lonely years. That person, those people, that part, those parts of me have done their job and fulfilled their oath, fulfilled their oath of protecting me, of trying their best to keep me safe, of trying their best to give me strategy and skill in order to make it through the next stage, fulfilled their oath as being a warrior for me, for my heart, and they must be let go of in order for me to keep going forward in the life I have now. I had to create versions of myself. I was just saying that, like, the same young woman was a like, young kid was a teenager turned young adult, turned woman, mother, career, all these things. And it's interesting to see now who I was in the middle of my survival mode. Like, now, um, when I look back at that person, I see like agility, I see skill, I see um like muscle, I see grit, I see a warrior spirit, endurance, protecting at all costs. I see that now. But what's interesting is that I don't need that right now. Not in my life right now, not where I'm sitting right now. At this moment, what I need is the creative, the imaginator, imaginator, the one who imagines, the dream maker, the producer. I need the administrator, the leader, the teacher. I don't need protection. I've been in some deep talks with different people, with myself, and I no longer need the protection that I needed when I was in those years. And this is really the art of moving forward. The art of moving forward is knowing when to move out of the survivor mode that made you safe and kept you moving and kept you alive. The art of moving forward is knowing when to move out of the survivor mode and into the life that you fought so hard to have. And of course, I'm going to have intense moments. I know that this next stage of my life will have some intense things. And if I do have intense moments and I am in need of of the reminders of how to be in those situations, I can harken back. I can remember back. I can call those. memories or those that beautiful woman, those that beautiful teenager, that beautiful child who all they knew how to do was keep me safe in survivor mode and get me out the other side, I can call them back and ask them for insight. I can get strategy. But this moment, right now, they do not have to walk alongside of me. They do not need to walk alongside of me every day, all night. Um in hypervigilance, in high alert, in activation, in using all the five senses to make sure that no harm was going to come to me. These these protectors do not need to scan the community in the world for someone that I will not trust, for mistrust, for dishonesty, for manipulation, for motive, for betrayal. There's no need here. The situation has changed. I've changed. Life has happened. I have become into something that I have deeply desired to be. And she, me, today is incredible. And she is not in survivor mode. These protectors of me, they fought for me. They chose me. They chose um my to preserve parts of me when I wasn't able to. They worked hard. See, I found myself in a relationship with someone in my family of origin that I had to work in order to be loved. Now, they did say, you're loved unconditionally. Mm, That was not true because it was definitely a conditional basis. I'd asked for love to be reciprocated and it was not able to be delivered. And that's okay, sitting where I'm sitting now. But back then it wasn't. Back then it was like, how? Why? Um, the betrayal was so deep. And so what I ended up fighting for was the right to be an individual and to be free. And I had used the grace that was given to me by something bigger than me, something, you know, more powerful than me. You can fill in whatever your spiritual orientation is there. But I had used that grace to soften the edges, to soften the edges. And it only lasts for a second before this the sharp tip of this person's spear would pierce me again. And it was so difficult. It was that person who protected me during those years who said, hey, if somebody loves you, you don't have to repeat yourself. If somebody loves you, you do not have to convince them that you're worthy. If somebody loves you, you don't have to say over and over and over and over and over again what you need in order to be heard. That isn't love. This aspect of myself was working so hard on hyper and high alert to remind me and teach me all of these things, to teach me that, you know, that's actually a covenant breaking. And I will say this because of my life experience. If you are out there and you can resonate that you have someone, a caregiver, a parent, somebody, a guardian in your life that is conditionally requiring love from you, meaning you need to push yourself down, pull yourself down, suppress yourself in order to be seen. You need to be small. That is a promise breaker. in my world, I call it a promise breaker, a covenant breaker, because I've been in a successful partnership and marriage for 29 years with the same guy. Been together for 30, over 31, and together we have four people that we've raised, and who some are adults, and one is not. She's a teenager, and we understand about covenants. We understand about promises. You are a parent, you're a guardian, you have a covenant. A covenant means that you see this person as like yourself, as a beautiful expression of something that is magical and bigger than ever you could imagine. And that your goal is to love and honor and prefer and to respect. And for many of us, we don't have that in our lives. Love is conditional. And when someone conditionally loves you, that's a breaking of a promise. Because if someone says, I promise to love you, and then they add conditions to it, promise broken, covenant broken. And that's on them. So if you're in an abusive marriage or abusive relationship in any form, that's on them. And who you are in a survivor mode to make it from one day to another. When you come out of that relationship, there is an adjustment and you don't need to keep being in that state. And that's when I realized, oh my gosh, I can still find myself in disbelief that I have no relationship with an individual in my family of origin. I can say that. I'm in disbelief. It's like weird to me because it was never my choice. And yet the person who is protecting me from being hurt in that relationship is hypervigilant. She's working hard. They are working hard, and they no longer need to be, because I'm free. I've come out the other side. And this is really like my own, obviously, my own perspective, my own point of view. It's fresh off the press. It's like, came from a conversation that I had with my mom yesterday. And this is really, really profound. So there's two things that I want to bring out in this conversation. So that was just a heavy introduction to say, if you find yourself in a toxic relationship in any way, shape, or form, you know, there's a promise breaking and a covenant breaking that happens. And when our bodies know that, when our spirit knows that, when our soul knows it, we have to protect ourselves. That is just the way it is. I am not a medical or uh, professional in any way, shape, or form, and I can't, say with certainty that I know that, but I know that from my own life experience. I don't need a degree to say to you, um, that person's a covenant breaker and a promise breaker if you are treated less than you know who you are. The interesting piece is when someone asks us to be different so that they can feel calm and peace in their own heart, you are trying to live and survive in a land that is totally confusing and that is not normal. And so then we get all kinds of hyper fixations trying to figure out what we did, why we are where we are. And all I want to say to that is, um, as you begin to grow and develop, when things don't feel right, when they don't seem to fit right, it's because you haven't let that person go yet. And this morning, I had this really beautiful moment because I've never let her go. I've never let the young girl who was 6, I never let the 10-year-old and the 14 and the 21-year-old and the 34-year-old, I never let her go or them go. And it was only this morning when I had the revelation of she can't come with me to this new space that I'm going to. And it's not because she doesn't deserve it. It's actually because I'm not her. I'm no longer her. I don't need survivor mode on. I don't need that kind of protection anymore. So it was in this conversation with my sweet mom that I was like, oh my gosh, okay, this is what happened. This is how this works. So, and again, this is my own POV. So, take it or leave it. It doesn't matter to me. Um, what are you normalizing? Was the question that my mom and I were talking about yesterday. What are you normalizing? Now, follow me here. So, we were lamenting about some things in our life. And of course, my mom was a parent. I was a child. Both of us were in a toxic relationship with the same person. We witnessed it from different stages and different levels, in different ages, both female though. Um, some things that were normal to her were not normal to me. Some things that were normal to me were not normal to her. Yet we can both trace our emotions back to some experiences that are the same. Or we have the same memory, just a different perspective, but we understand what was going on underneath it all. And we both have used the same ways to cope with the result of what has happened with our life. And so the question that I had posed yesterday to her was, well, what is normal? And what have we normalized? Then and now. And I said, like, are we repeating some of the ways in which we were dealing with things back then and repeating them now? And I can see in a business way how I do that. um like my pattern comes out in business. It comes out like the self-doubt, the fear of being seen, believing that I'm not enough, believing that I'll have nothing to offer, believing that no one will listen to me, believing that i'm I'm like not worthy of doing this. Those are some of my, like, I wanna say, and I wanna change that right now, these are not my patterns. They were my patterns. Something happened to me this morning that changed the course of my life, and I can't, and this is why I'm sharing it. And so, again, we when we are in this mode with someone who is toxic and who maybe you don't know they're toxic, but you feel like something's not right, there's ways in which you interact with them. You walk on eggshells. You make sure you don't make any sound. You try to be as small and quiet and not seen as possible in order to make that person happy. I said to one of my guests, Eileen Lashinsky, in the root chakra episode, it just came out. I think it's episode 56. And I said to her, I betray, like, this person asked me to betray myself. Like, they didn't physically ask me, but their requirement of me needed and demanded that I betray myself. And she said, oh no, 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 no. Let me tell you something. That is all their responsibility. You did not betray anything. You didn't know that that you needed to be otherwise. And so this is what happens when you're in a toxic relationship. It can be very, very dicey. But now that I've moved on and I've only started somatic therapy in the last 3 months. I went to therapy when I was 17 for about a year and then no therapy for the rest of my life until um, just those months ago. So I'm really new to the therapy land, but I have learned and grown from a lot of different resources out there. And I would say that for me, it's like there's this deep ingrained space that I cannot find regulation. I'm always on this high alert. I'm always like off the charts. Worried, anxiety, all kinds of things, reactive to my environment because I had to be. And my body is trying to learn how to not be in a reactive space. There's nothing to fight in my world. My partner is the most amazing human that I could have ever asked for, like the gift of God in my life. And together we have, like I said, we had 4 kids, and oh my God, my kids are unbelievable people. They're just amazing humans living their good life, their best life, and they have this way, and so there's no survivor mode for me. I don't need to be in survivor mode. That's not my job right now. My job, like I said, is to create and to do these things so that, we can move forward together. So as my mom and I were talking, I was like, wow, there's just one thing that came up and I responded out of survivor mode and called it out and I was like, oh, that's survivor mode. And I said, "But I've normalized that." And she said, "What? What? What did you just say?" I said, "Well, I've normalized survivor mode. I I'm on all the time." And she said, "Well," and I know she won't mind me sharing this piece. She said, I've I don't know what it's like to not be in survivor mode. I was in survivor mode when I grew up in like my whole childhood. And then I moved to this other relationship and I became in survivor mode until like this second. I don't know what it's like to be calm. And this is when I said, okay, so what are we normalizing then? And it came out. We've been normalizing chaos because we were raised with it. It's normal. Okay, hold on. It's common. It happens. But is it normal to live in chaos all the time? No. So, how are we going to move forward into abundance and prosperity and wholeness and regulation if we are living in this normal way, which normal is to survive? All my senses are going left, right, and center. I can't turn, I can't turn the switch off. So that's the one piece. And I have to let her go. And I mean that with the love, as my body hears that, as my spirit hears that, it's like with a million times over of love. I'm letting her go because she's no longer needed here. And so what are you normalizing? And I'm going to do a podcast on this right after this. I'm going to keep the flow going. So what are you normalizing? The next piece that I would say is that personal or circumstantial power is also something that is huge for me. So, again, in survivor mode, raised in that environment, I did not have power. And what power I did have was quickly squashed. Like, shoe squash. Here's my Birkenstock. Look at this. Just smash. Like you want it? That's right. Yeah, squash you like a bug. Because the second I showed power was the second that that person became or felt powerless. So I was raised to give my power to circumstance. Any circumstance that happened, that was not, that was how I lived. Chaos and circumstantial power with no power of my own. So that was trained in the moment I came into this world, and I gave my power away to be approved. And if I showed that I was approved, then I was in the good grace. But if I decided that I didn't want to do that, it was like dire straits for me. Circumstances determined my value, and they determined my worth, and they determined what tools and skills I needed to actually survive. So as I grew up, I needed new skills. I needed new tools in order to try to make sure I could survive through and cope. So now I have to let them go. Oh, I want to change that too. I don't have to. I don't have to do anything, but I get to. Oh, and that's even more free, being able to say, I don't need them. They've served me well. And it's time to say goodbye. Not forever, because I might need to use some of my experience as a resource for this next portion of the journey. But basically, there are more tools that I need. There are other tools that I need to learn. And I am allowing my survivor mode, the Lori Lynn Clark survivor girl, and all of those years, all the way down to when I can remember as 6, but if it's earlier, then fine. I let them go and I return them with love and kindness. And I restore unto me what is for me. And what is mine today, what is yours today, is self love and proud. I want you to be proud of yourself. That if you've made it through a messy conversation, out of a toxic relationship of any kind, I'm proud of you. And I want you to feel that pride, knowing that you did it. And now that person who you were does not need to come with you. They can just stand there, and they don't even have to say goodbye. You don't even have to send them off. It could just be like no, you can just be here, but you don't need to intervene. You don't need to interact with me. I'm not kicking into survivor mode. I don't need to. Oh, how free is that? I just couldn't stand to not share it. And so here it is for you. I am going to record um, 2 more conversations. The one will be on personal and circumstantial power, and then the other one will be on normalizing, because I have some thoughts about both. This is so exciting. Thank you for your time. Thank you for letting me share this with you. This is so valuable, and you are so important. You can do this. If you're in the middle of a toxic relationship and you know that you are doing everything you can to survive, we are here, we are with you, and we will post resources um, for for you to use. You are loved, you are appreciated, and you're going to do this, and you're going to make it. And if you've come out the other side of some of those places, I'm so proud of you. We did it. We have something in common. We were able to give ourselves permission to say, oh, how beautiful it is that we've grown. We can show ourselves the love and we can leave our survivor modes behind and we can move forward into the life that we are so worthy of living. Oh, I love it. Thank you. And if you're interested in hearing more, you can go to my website, www.loriclarkmedia.com. It's LORICLARKEMEDIA.com. You can also go to my Instagram, which is at The Lori Clark Show. And you can also go to my very brand new baby Instagram channel called Simply Gratitude Life. And that's where I will be adding all my products and all my things that I love that make my life full of gratitude. This is just lovely. I will see you in the next episode.